how did it become from the page to the screen, for what to keep in, what to change?
Well, it was, at first it seemed it was the most difficult screenplay I ever wrote because it was conceived of as a play for 4 people and just a few locations, and then I'm going to make a feature film out of it. But then once I reflected on it, I realized that all of these things that I had to artificially keep off stage because it cost you money, much money in modern theater to do it, I now could include. So I could have the congregation when the priest is giving his sermon. I could have the kids in their classrooms, and you could see Sister James teaching and what that was like. You could see the effect when Sister Aloysius walks in. You can see the nuns, how they live in the convent, and you can put that up against the way the priests live in the rectory and let audiences experience that. I think that's something that people wanted to see. So there was sort of a natural expansion that was a possibility, once I let myself go and looked at it as a film.
I loved it. And after seeing the play so many times, and so much visual was in my head.
Yes.
But my favorite moment was the pillow story coming to life. What was that for you as the writer, as a director, that aha moment when you were going to bring that to visual?
When I was a kid, a priest actually gave that sermon about gossip and cutting open a pillow and the feathers flying out from a rooftop. And when I was a kid and I heard that sermon, the first thing I did was picture that in my head. Yeah. And even more than, the moral of it, because frankly to me, as a 10-year-old boy or something that I was when I heard the sermon, gossip was not a real issue.
Exactly.
And so that image was the issue. And so when I did the film, of course, I wanted to share the wonder of that with the audience.
Yeah, and it really does bring it to life. And the children, bringing the children, these children inform these characters from the first moment you see them in a way that I honestly, with a lot of adaptations, how is this going to come to the screen? Because I loved it so much, like the inclusion of the children.
Well, it turns out to be, this is what these people are fighting over, is the well-being, what is going to be good for these children. And to have the actual focus of their conflict as part of the story seems organic and central. Once you have it, you can't imagine it without it.
What's this, Mr. Conroy?
I don't know, sister. They're all uniformly terrified of you.
That's how it works.
Boy! Come up here.
The dragon is hungry.
How was it deciding what to keep, what to change, what to put in? There's some wonderful new lines that I loved.
Thank you. Well, there's things that you can do in a play that seem okay, and then when you do them as a film, you go, well, that's really weird. So if you're following the story of the priest, you sort of have to follow it to the end. You can't just sort of hear what happened to him that somebody tells you.
Exactly. If
you're following the story of a kid, you want to see that kid at the end of the story. And I sort of land a couple of kids' stories at the end. And then these nonverbal scenes where you get to see the way that the nuns live with their vow of silence when they eat or when they get up in the morning, that I think are very compelling and really add to your understanding of what these people's lives were like.
And the casting. I'm sure you've discussed it ad nauseum.
I was very lucky. My first choice was Meryl Streep, as would have been any 20 people that I asked on the train.
Sure.
And Meryl wanted to do it, and so that fell right into place. And my first choice for the priest was Philip Seymour Hoffman, which was probably a choice that not everybody would have thought of as their first choice, but it was mine. And indeed, I was able to get Phil. And fortunately, him and Meryl had worked together and had a very good working relationship, so I had that building block in place. Amy Adams came to me, and I quickly realized from looking at Junebug and talking to her that she'd be fabulous in the role. And Viola Davis was Scott Rudin's idea, and she screen tested for me, and the crew froze. They stopped breathing during her.
I did in my interview. For a little while.
And when I saw that, I was like, well, it's inevitable. This woman has claimed this role.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing it to life. Honestly, as a fan of the play,
thank you.
It's been wonderful.